presented for payment. After examination of the bills, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Alderman McGill, seconded by Alderman Cole to approve paying the bills for this meeting. Roll call: Cole,
Yes.
Eckelberry,
Yes.
Lampley,
Yes.
Lisenby,
Yes.
McGill,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Reaver,
Yes.
Stahl.
Yes.
Approved. Public comments. At this point in the meeting, we encourage anybody that has something to say to the city council to be able to come up front. Please use the microphone, and you have 3 minutes to be able to make whatever statements you want to make. Please give me your name and your address.
Lori Robson, 568 County Road, 1800 East Fairfield. Since I was not asked any questions at the last month's meeting, I wanted to speak tonight about the Wayne County CEO program. One observation I made last month was that most of the aldermen here understand about entrepreneurship. You own your own business, you work for an entrepreneurial business, or you have many family members who own businesses. So you understand what the program is all about, teaching the students. Another observation I made and I agreed with Alderman Cole when you stated that approving the CEO request for money may open up all non-for-profits asking for money. The city of Fairfield is a business, and you must look out for the future of the city and the city money. You cannot approve them all. However, I feel the board must look at each request for money on an individual basis and ask, how can this request help the city of Fairfield? So how can the CEO program benefit the city of Fairfield? By investing in this program, the city of Fairfield is investing in the potential that a future business will open up and fill one of the empty buildings in Fairfield, thus investing in the economic development of Fairfield. The city of Fairfield would be investing in bringing, I'm out of breath, potential jobs to area citizens, money to other area businesses, and money and sales tax to the county and possibly to the city. The city of Fairfield was an original investor in the program, and for that I thank you. You invested a little over $100 a student in the hopes that one of their ideas would generate a desire to take a risk and continue a business idea and fill a niche in the Fairfield area. In fact, I spoke with a former CEO student who's still working her business that she created in CEO. Once she obtains her college degree, she wants to buy equipment and open up a storefront. And I could go on and on about the other community successes with the businesses that were created as a start of a CEO program. At last month's meeting, I received many phone calls, messages wanting to know more about the program. One conversation did lead to a new 1,000-year investor, and in case someone out here who's listening does not know this, there is a friend of the CEO option that allows smaller donations to be made to help the students with small expenses, like purchasing business casual clothing, paying for gas to attend business visits, and other things. I know the request to continue to invest in the CE program died last month for a lack of a motion, but I hope that if the city of Fairfield is asked again to support a program, event, or activity, that the board will ask how improving that request will benefit the city of Fairfield. I would also encourage you to seek out more information so you can get a clarification of the request. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and if you really want to find out about the CEO program, I invite you to attend the trade show on April 24th at Willow Creek venue and see how the students' ideas could generate a business for Fairfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ryan. Right on time. Thank you. Anyone else like to speak to the city council tonight? Your name and address, sir.
Yes, you probably know it. Roy Finlay, 99 County Road, 1300 East, Fairfield, Illinois. Tonight, I intended to speak at last meeting. However, I was presented a FOIA request, which kind of took the breath out of my sails, I guess you could say. But at any rate, in that FOIA request to the Fairfield City Police Department, to be more clear, 5 hours of video was sent to me, basically showing the front of the building. The reason for that request was to find out there had been a rumor and speculation, speaking of Chief Fulkerson not being at the funeral, and obviously another rumor was stated that he was in a restaurant eating out at the time of the funeral. I found it very disgraceful, disrespectful, so I wanted to check into it. Upon the FOIA request, I can say that I did not get near what I thought I would out of that. And I'm a little disappointed in saying that, but it is what it is. But anyhow, to bring things a little further, I wanted to ask a question, I guess, tonight of the police department, the council, whoever may be involved, even you, Mr. Mayor. Just how much longer is this investigation going to go on with a Fairfield City police officer that's on an administrative leave? I'm not asking for any great details. I believe we both know the officer I'm speaking of without mentioning his name. Your Fairfield City Police Department is short on officers right now, if I'm not correct. You're paying out quite a bit of money. And I would like to know just how much longer this investigation is going to go on, because it seems like it took 2 or 3 days possibly to exonerate an officer who used a mag light into the neck of a Fairfield woman. And I think it's time to get this investigation over with for the betterment of our city, the safety of our city. And while I'm not an actual resident of the city, as we've made clear in previous conversations, everything that happens within this city, it affects me. It affects my family, the safety. If I'm up here at Mach 1, I'd like to know that I'm safe in this town. If I'm out working on a job, I want to know I'm safe in this town. And I just want to know exactly how much longer is it going to take. I mean, it's been 3 months, a little over 3 months. I think it's time to have some closure to this. I think everybody would hopefully agree with me. And if the police chief or the assistant would like to say anything, it'll be up to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roy. Any other comments for the city council? Hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 1, presentation of blight analysis and business development district plan. I'd like to invite Keith Moran of Moran Economic Development to be able to address the city council. Keith, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members. Good to see you guys all again. I would like to introduce, my name is Keith Moran. I'm president of Moran Economic Development, a TIP and economic development consulting firm out of Edwardsville, Illinois. We work in your area quite often. Well, clients of ours have been Mount Vernon, Carmi, Illinois, Harrisburg, Illinois, kind of all over. Basically, we've worked from Freeport to the north to Cairo, Illinois to the south. But one of the things that we do is, other than establish administrative districts, is do the same with the business district program. We work a lot with enterprise zones, and in fact, worked quite a bit with the city of Fairfield back when on the redesignation of your enterprise zone a couple years back. And remind me, there's a few more discussion points on the enterprise zone as well. But what we're here to talk about tonight is the establishment of a business district program for the city of Fairfield. What I'll do is I'll give kind of an overview and sort of meat and potatoes, but I'll have Jared Connellican of my office kind of give you some of the details of how the area qualifies and some of the plan elements and whatnot. So again, thank you for having me. But in terms of the business district program in the state of Illinois, it's a newer economic development tool that allows even non-home rule communities. It gives you guys the abilities to up your sales tax by up to 1% within a defined area, and then that additional tax is then used to make improvements similar to TIF within that actual defined area. And so ultimately, we've got plenty of maps going around, and we've been hard at work at this for a while. But ultimately, those maps are depicted in layer documents, the business district plan, and the synopsis as well. But in order to understand how this mechanism works, we can't just draw a circle around the area. And like I said, I'll have Jared talk about this a little later, but the area has to qualify under business district law, and we have to have a redevelopment plan, meaning what are we going to do with these funds as they're generated, what are we going to accomplish. But I wanted to make sure everyone understood how this program worked from the outset. right now you guys got a sales tax rate of around 7%. So right now, if I go to the hardware store, what's going to happen is I'm going to pay, let's say I buy a $100 chainsaw, they'll scan it across the scanner, and I'll be charged $107. Say that chainsaw's $100, the sales tax rate is 7%, I'm going to be charged $107 for that chainsaw. So what's going to happen is the hardware store is going to send that $7 to the Illinois Department of Revenue, and what's going to happen is the state or Illinois Department of Revenue is going to keep $5 of that $7. They're going to send $1 to the city of Fairfield in your general fund. The county's going to get a quarter, and then your county public safety fund will get 75 cents of that $7. And so that's sort of the breakdown of that $7 the sales tax at point of sale. Under a business district standpoint, we can go in quarter-cent increments, but I think almost all communities, except for one, have done the 1%, which is what we're proposing here, and I think it makes sense. But what it would do is instead of 7% sales tax rate, it would be an 8% sales tax rate. And so what would happen for the purchase of that same chainsaw is that instead of $107, I'd pay $108. Department of Revenue would then keep $5 like before. It's in $1 to your general fund. The county would get its quarter still. The county public safety fund would get 75 cents, and then your Fairfield Business District Fund, which you create after we establish the business district, would collect $1, and then again that $1 would be spent in the business district area. So one of the first things we actually did some time ago, and I think shared with a lot of folks in this room, is one of the things we don't want to be or do is to have our sales tax completely out of whack with where our neighbors are and where folks else go shopping. And I think we're well within that area. Folks right now, if you're shopping in Carmine, Illinois, that sales tax rate is 8%. So what we're proposing is that you're at 7 and we go to 8. If you go to Mount Vernon to shop anywhere, you're paying about 9.5% sales tax rate. The Clinsboro has an 8.25. There are some, like Flora with a 7.75, so we'd be just a tad higher than that. Same with Mowing. And so there are general areas, but I think largely where folks would go other than the city to shop, you're going to pay a sales tax rate that's either at or above what we're proposing to be. So generally speaking, that's what you're kind of looking for when you're looking at doing a business district, or where are we in terms of our neighbors. One of the things I do want to touch on is that the area doesn't have to be a contiguous boundary. We can't skip parcels or anything like that. You can see that we've got a a lot of thought went into what this boundary would be. It includes different portions of the commercial area. Certainly downtown, this is a downtown focused business district with, in a lot of ways, some of the monies that have been generated and left behind some businesses downtown. This business district program is meant to revitalize the downtown area, which is not an uncommon practice with business district funds. But what I also want to talk about is what the tax will not impact. And what the tax will not impact is anything medical or prescription drug related. So anything along those lines, this tax will not be imposed. Anything that's licensed to the state of Illinois, such as your boat dealers or your automobile dealers or anything like that, that the additional 1% would not impact the sales of those items, which is good, because if you're purchasing a $40,000 Buick Envision, the tax, an additional 1% might cause someone to perhaps shop elsewhere for that vehicle, and so it's not going to impact those types of items. It's also not going to impact any food that we prepare at home. And an example I kind of gave and have shared before with the working group here is, let's say I go to Casey's General Store and I buy the pre-made pizza that's in that case that I happen to love. The tax is imposed on that purchase. But if I go to the back freezer section, I buy the Tombstone, and I take that Tombstone home and I make it at home, the tax does not impact that So that's good for our fixed income folks, and so I just wanted to make those kinds of points. We can get just to let other folks know that the program lasts for up to 23 years. A couple of what was the other thing I wanted to mention? It lasts for a 23-year period. One of the things I wanted to talk briefly about and touch on that's sort of a stat beyond the stat is about 2/3 of your total sales here in Fairfield come from areas outside of the city. So I kind of wanted to just know, I mean, I think we all kind of know that, but put an actual dollar figure to it or actual number of percentage to that. So you've got a considerable amount of people coming to the city of Fairfield and purchasing these items. So that puts a strain on city services, puts a strain on lots of things that the city has to offer in terms of police protection and those types of things. So the businesses should can help alleviate issues caused by a lot of folks coming to town.
Can you repeat that statement? 2/3 of the.
About 2/3 of your sales as a whole comes from outside of the city. So when people come, 2/3 of the
So you mean outside the city limits?
Yes.
Like gas, I mean, even like Jasper District, I guess.
I couldn't tell you exactly where they're coming from, but I can just tell you that 2/3 of your total sales are outside of the city of Fairfield. So that'd be the county, Wayne City, I don't know. Which is sort of an interesting stat. So that's what's different. This is not a TIF, which deals in property taxes and in effect would impact our taxing districts. So this doesn't impact them. And so really, it's a program that a lot of communities are looking to help redevelop it and fix some Pierce Mills here in Southern Illinois. We've got a lot of successes with in doing that. But what I'll do is I'll turn it over for Jared, who's just going to touch quickly on how the area qualifies and sort of the nuts and bolts as to what we hope to accomplish with the BP program, and then we can answer questions as needed as well. So.
So what I'll go over is your synopsis document here, and basically what this is a quick 2-page summary of the plan. In the plan, you'll find that it has a lot of the technical terms from the statute, basically the requirements that you have to do by law in order to establish a business district, and other things like a boundary description, and parcel ID list, address list, things like that. But as far as the bulk of the plan, the first part would be the eligibility study. Like Keith said, an area has to be found to be eligible. You can't just draw a circle around anything. There's 2 different ways that you can qualify for inclusion in the business district, and this is inclusion, or this is as an area as a whole. It's not every parcel has to meet every requirement. It's just if there's a predominance of these factors within this boundary, which is shown in the boundary map, it will qualify the area as a whole. And what we found, a couple of categories we look at, deterioration, both surface and structural, based on the statute language, is that we do a parcel by parcel analysis. We look at the buildings, we look at the what's called surface improvements, things like sidewalks, alleyways, roadways, parking areas, things like that. And so when looking at some of the structural improvements, we found that approximately 65% of the structures exhibited some form of deterioration, as they would call it, things like downspouts, fascia materials, roofs, gutters, windows, just some things you find that might be deteriorated. Based on consensus and Claritas data, Claritas is a data source we use for demographic and economic things. We found that the median year of construction in this area was 1959, so a lot of the stuff we're talking about is just general age. Over time, some things show some signs of being exposed to the elements, things like that. 71% of the parcels we found to have some sign of surface deterioration, again, sidewalks, loose gravel, weed growth, just things like that when we were going parcel by parcel. That's what we found. Then the other factor, as far as the conditions noted, where we found some improper subdivision or obsolete platting. Looking at the parcel map, there's a lot of areas that where the land was subdivided maybe like as an as-needed basis or as the area developed rather than in accordance with the plan for growth. And a lot of these parcels are zoned for more intensive uses than they're currently being used for. when you have properties divided piecemeal, then you might get commercial, residential intermingling. It could create some land use relationships that aren't ideal. And again, it makes it tough if it's redevelopment, but these properties aren't done in accordance with the plan, given a lot of different property owners with parcel lines that aren't necessarily matching up to modern development guidelines. They can just create a barrier to redevelop some portions of the city. And ultimately, what you have to do for business district eligibility is find that these factors exist and cause, in this case, it's an economic liability to the city and economic underutilization of the properties. Liability, we found, we kind of looked at some statistics in order to come to that conclusion. Looking at the property tax revenues collected by commercial properties versus some of the other types of properties in the city, I think it was about 70% commercial was behind as far as average annual growth of property tax collections compared to balance. Balance would be residential, industrial, other property classes other than commercial, meaning that your commercial is not really keeping up to pace with the rest of the property types in the city as far as average annual growth. Another thing we found was that the commercial properties in the city, they had a few years where they were declining over the past 6 years, and then over that same time period, several years that they were lower than the consumer price index, which is basically a metric for inflation. You can say it's not keeping up with the CPI. They can be considered stagnant, which is a statutory qualification threshold. And then the last one is that over the last several years, we found some sales tax years where you're declining in collections, which again is another point to where could be some commercial stagnation or decline. And then when we talk about underutilization, we looked at some average annual daily traffic counts, and it's no surprise when you look at the map, it's some of the most trafficked areas in the city. So the goal would be for these areas to be able to capitalize on that type of visibility with the aforementioned commercial stagnation. You can say these properties aren't maybe living up to their highest and best use, and maybe with a redevelopment plan, they might be able to capture more on that visibility. But overall, we found that since factors do exist, that the area shown in those maps would qualify for inclusion in the business district area. So the second part of the plan that makes it the bulk of it would be what's going to happen, what are the goals and objectives for this. We worked with the city on developing some of these, but we found that some of the key goals outlined by the city, one was to create bicycle and pedestrian lanes to connect the downtown area to the western portion of the city out by the Frontier Community College, Walmart. Make that area easier for pedestrians to get back and forth. Use city resources to purchase some of the dilapidated properties in the downtown and demolish those which are beyond repair. Basically clean up some of the deterioration as we noted earlier. Maintain and redevelop some of the historical properties, maybe promote some of those properties, do things like plaques and other things to maybe even tourism element for some of the historical properties that are downtown. Facilitate downtown streetscape upgrades, facade improvement type things, signage improvements, signage regulations to get things to look more consistent, painters, things like that. Utilize redevelopment project revenues for some general municipal improvements. We researched in Freedom Park was one that was noted, and the creation of a downtown Boys and Girls Club was another one. Market the existing businesses to the area in order to promote retention of the business and also facilitate expansion of the existing local businesses in the area. Attracting new businesses to fill vacancies that exist in this area. And then finally, we have improved the high traffic areas of the district. Again, things like landscaping, planters and trees, awnings, just other general commercial improvements. And again, as Keith noted, any revenues collected are from this area and they have to be spent in this area. So it's an idea that people come in and shop at the places and you get revenue to help business owners make those places better. So as far as the overview of the plan, I think that's what I have. So Keith or I will take questions on either of the presentations if there are any.
Is there any doubt that it will qualify in the state's eyes as a area that would be able to have a business district?
No, it meets the threshold of the eligibility. So as far as outlining the things that we did, like I said, it gets a little bit more in depth in the plan, but it does qualify.
You said it runs out in 23 years. What happens after that?
You you would pass an ordinance that would then revert the business district tax. So after 23 years is up, you simply pass an ordinance and it ends.
What happens to the funds if there's any funds left?
I believe you can earmark them for, future surplus, and then, I don't, do they have to be spent within, it would just be, you'd stop collecting the revenues, but you still have the funds.
You can spend those anywhere actually at that point.
So any funds that are left, a future city council can direct them to be spent on anything
At the end of 23 years.
at the end of the, right?
So if you had $1 million right now, I think that's gonna change at some point. But currently, as of last states now, I have $1 million in my business fund right now. Unlike a tip, where tip, you have to.
Goes back to the taxing body.
Right. And in a business district standpoint, you'd simply, business district would end, you would, pass those monies onto your general fund and spend those as needed. And I do think that that'll change, but that's how it reads right now.
And how you think it'll change?
I'm not sure, I don't know actually, they'll, either that or maybe make you spend it all in the business district area.
Thank you.
That was the first. Go ahead, Gary.
No, I'm done. I just said thank you.
I'm just using the word purse strings. Who decides who gets what?
Well, there's only certain eligible costs you can use the business district revenues on. You can't use it for salaries or anything like that. It's basically, utility improvements, construction, a little bit more flexible than TIF, but it's similar. So there's only certain costs that can be, that you can use the revenue for, but those costs would be at the discretion of the council.
Okay, so the city council votes to.
But that's kind of the nice thing about the business district is, again, it has to be spent in the area and it's spent pretty much as part of cost. So it's really going back into the properties that make up the boundary.
So the city council, I mean, we've got a TIF project, and if there's any projects, they come to the TIF committee and present their desire. The city council can write an ordinance similar to that says any disbursements shall come before a committee and then to the approval of the full city council.
Yeah, I mean, you really can use it however you felt comfortable.
One question I had, when you just said that, kind of opened up the question with TIF. When we do a redevelopment agreement, we have our TIF lawyer, and he writes up. Do we have to write up an agreement every time we use the money out of the business district? Is it like that as far as redevelopment, or with a business maybe, but
Yeah.
okay, with a business, yes, but not with doing other like the plaques and stuff like that. He said we wouldn't have to write up. We would. I'm just thinking about the other cost with ongoing, I guess, administrative costs.
Yeah. Any deal that you do with business, you would do some type of business district agreement. But yeah, expenditures on ADA compliance type things, you just spend what you normally would.
And I mean, and I know I brought it up in our meeting when we had the very first time when we talked, and Gary said, we can put in the ordinance that it has to go to a committee, and that committee will be made up of however, and then come to the city council. Because our TIF has had a black eye over the years, and we created a committee, and it's really brought everything to light. We do everything by the book, and we want to make sure this is done the same way if it does pass. That there's nothing can be spent unless it goes to two different places. A committee of however it's designed, and then onto the city council.
If that's policy you want to create, that's policy you can do.
And if there's a business that is not collecting the tax, even though they are in the district zone, are they eligible to have funds dispersed to them?
Yeah, but it would be, if a new business was coming in generating a lot of funds.
An existing business, and I'm not picking on anybody, but you said medical is exempt. So if you've got a pharmacy that is within the district, not collecting any of the 1% additional tax, are they eligible to come to the committee and to the council?
They would just not be collecting the tax on the medicine. They
Right.
may be collecting on other things.
But
that
if
would
it's a
make them
pharmacy
eligible.
only,
But that would be probably at the discretion of the council, because you'd have to weigh the fact that maybe they're not contributing a lot to the funds, so you want to use revenues on, to assist them with something.
But there's nothing legal. That says
there's
you
nothing
couldn't.
that prohibits it.
As long as it falls into the eligible costs of the business statute, you can use it for any property in the town.
Thank you.
Chair, do you want to shine, take a look? I think,
Come up to the microphone.
Yeah, sorry. looks like we'll have our, looks like we could have some businesses here. I wanted to talk about the Illinois, how it would work with Department of Revenue. But it all works through the Illinois Department of Revenue, who will notify the businesses. It won't be the city notifying businesses. Department of Revenue will do that, like they normally would with their, when the county public, safety tax came into existence, that's how, what they did was they contacted each business owner and then, made upgrades to your sales tax system and, applied the tax, anyway. This same will happen with businesses, so I just wanna make sure we make that clear, because other places, they start flooding the city with phone calls, right? So we'll get a problem with it.
Okay, good. Thanks. Thank you. Any other questions?
The only thing next would be, we'd ask that you pass an ordinance steps from public.
Right here. And what that's the next agenda item, which would be a public hearing date for the establishment of a business district in Fairfield. We're looking at next month, the first week of March. March 8th would be the time that we would want to have a public hearing on this. So is there a motion to be able to establish a public hearing for the establishment of a business district in Fairfield?
Is that before a city council meeting? Or?
Yeah, it's 5:30 before city council meeting. What else?
On March 8th. To give the public chance to have input.
We just gonna have the one meeting, is that the game plan?
Yes.
I will make the motion.
I have a motion by Alderman Lampley, seconded by Alderman Reaver to approve the ordinance setting the public hearing date for the establishment of a business district in Fairfield, and that date will be set for March 8th, at 5:30 p.m. here at City Hall. Roll call vote, Huckleberry,
Yes.
Lampley,
Yes.
Lizenby,
Yes.
McGill,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Reaver,
Yes.
Stahl,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
And that passes unanimously. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Request to use recreation funds for a holiday event. My understanding is that Santa needs to be paid.
In the years past, retail merchants and things have picked up this bill. We have recreation funds. This past year, they had a lot of expenditures helping with the Festival of Lights and things like that. They spent many thousands of dollars helping the Park District do that. This falls within recreation. It's not general fund. It's out of the recreation. We've been collecting from Briarwood and budget in, as well as our new Airbnbs. So we have some funds in that, and this would be a way to really help them so they can continue all their projects throughout the year.
That's a motion.
Yeah.
Second motion,
I have a motion by Alderman Lampley, seconded by Alderman McGill to approve using recreation funds in the amount of,
Yeah, what is the
what
amount?
is the amount?
$600.
In the amount of $600 to pay for a holiday event for Santa's Sally. Roll call vote, Lampley,
Yes.
Lizenby,
Yes.
McGill,
Yes.
of course, he would come for free. Anyway, okay, Moore,
Yes.
Reaver,
Yes.
Well, if any kids.
I would like to have that so that anybody's watching.
If any kids are
Santa's
listening,
got.
Santa.
Well, the cost was more for the storage of the reindeer as well. as the
There we
milk,
go.
Cookies and
Food.
Yeah,
All right.
thank you. Thank you. Okay, Weaver said yes. Stahl?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
Eckelberry?
Yes.
Nobody's gonna get coal in their stock.
Your Facebook Live, there could be little kids. watching.
All right, agenda item 4, zoning officer appointment. I had, 3 different people approach me, upon the, resignation of Flo Simpson, interested in the zoning officer appointment. Had 2 interviews, and I'm recommending as an appointment to the city council, Doug Skaggs. He's currently an inventory control specialist with Motorrad of America. He's been there since 2016. Prior to that, he was for 18 years with Airtex Products as a senior production planner and buyer. And I would recommend Mr. Skaggs for that appointment.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Alderman Lampley, seconded by Alderman Reaver, to approve the resolution appointing Doug Skaggs as zoning officer for the city of Fairfield. Roll call vote, Lizenby,
Yes.
McGill,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Reaver,
Yes.
Stahl,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Eckelberry,
Yes.
Lampley.
Yes.
Mr. Skaggs is here tonight. Welcome to the city, Mr. Skaggs.
Thank you, appreciate
You'll be giving notice and joining us in a couple of weeks, I see. That's correct. That's right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Agenda item number 5, animal control discussion and possible action. We've had an interesting journey over the last 6-7 months. We received, as I reported a couple of meetings ago, a new contract proposal by the Humane Society, and we had interest from another party for that contract. And having said that, the Humane Society sat down with Tyler in particular to talk a little bit about what ifs, and with that, Tyler, I'm gonna let you take it from there.
Yeah, you asked me if I would sit in on a meeting with them to kind of go over some of the things that, the questions they had and questions we had, and we went back and forth and discussed the contract. We discussed everything from our current service level with them. They had some issues over the summer, which they acknowledged. They now have staff back at the Humane Society to work through the week. They had lost all of their staff over the summer, which led to some issues, which led to more issues, and now they, have promised those to be resolved. They've been the city's provider since 1992. So this is the 30th year. When they started in 92, they were being paid $1,000 a month. In 2007, I believe that was Mickey Bora, that was raised from $1,000 a month to $1,500 a month. For 15 years later, they did put in a request for an increase that came as kind of a shocker, as it will with the one contract price. We've talked, that was just kind of, let's break the ice and start maybe some negotiations. So we've talked, they would like an increase if they are chosen, as it has been 15 years since their last one. We talked about bite dogs. They told me just the day before they had been in Sisney, they went on a call. They are willing to, work through this. They are still working on getting quotes to do something for a building. That is not any part of what we would be deciding at this time. We won't be tied with a contract with something with the county you know, they're just wanting to look at their contract for the year, come back at a different time to talk about what we could help them do if we chose them to house bite dogs a little bit more effectively. But they are, you know, you put it out there that they're very willing to talk to us about any concerns we have. They still have the outdoor pens. If somebody, you know, catches a dog in their neighborhood, they can drop it off of an evening. They have people that, you know, go by, look at it. On the weekends, they're there, you know, 'cause they have to go in and feed and water. They make sure the dogs or cats or whatever are brought in, taken care of during the weekend times. So those are some of the things we need to talk about. Jeff Murphy also put out a bid. I mean, another great individual there. It had also caveat, you know, where with the after hours and weekends, it would involve the police department. We could take dogs there, use kennels to store them. I mean, two options that are on the table that we need to discuss, and I'm open for any questions or comments from the council, because I know I didn't cover it all.
Well, obviously, I mean, I haven't seen any bids, so I mean, I'm not gonna feel comfortable on voting on anything. And that's not anything negative to the Wayne County Humane Society, or anything negative to Jeff Murphy. You know, and I guess I'll direct the question to you or out here, I mean, I don't know, so they're willing to take on the bite dogs?
I mean, the way we taught, you know, if they get a call, you're willing to at least assist and find a resolution.
We have always picked them up. It's just the storage part.
Yeah.
And that implies that a licensed veterinarian has to, if it is unvaccinated, so, and no current rabies, it has to be watched for 10 days by a licensed veterinarian, which the county pays $350 a month for. So he has kept them if we have not had room for them.
But I mean, the question, I mean, as far as picking up, that's not an issue. And before I go on, did I misspeak anything of what I said? Okay. I finally was a little bit rambling. I had some of my notes there.
Weekends and after hours, has something changed there? I mean, you know, and again, I'm just going on what I've heard in the past. You know, I've heard in the past, refuse to come out after hours. I don't know what after hours is, if it's after your closing time. Don't want to come out on the weekends. You know, I believe it's been talked that, you know, Fairfield Police Department, you know, they capture the dog and drop them off down there. You know, I think the Fairfield Police Department is busy enough, especially with our staffing situation, that I don't believe they need to be chasing dogs at Walmart on the weekends or picking them up and taking them off. I think, you know, their focus needs to be on what they're hired to do. And again, please don't think that I'm saying anything negative to anybody, but I mean, it's just questions that somebody needs to get an answer, you know, and I'll ask Jeff, I mean, how are you gonna handle the bite dogs? How would you handle the after hours or the weekend calls? You know, I've heard that the police department's gonna get crates, they're gonna put the dogs in crates, they're gonna get pens, they're gonna put the dogs in pens. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah. Yeah, yes, you have the floor.
It's on Fairfield, hear me? With any bite dogs, we would, come pick them up or assist in fixing them. I've, owned my own business since '92. I have probably handled more dogs and been bitten more times than anybody in the room. And that probably being within the last month. We currently, me and my daughter and my wife, have currently opened a veterinarian business in Siskiyou. My daughter has practiced for 5 years since she graduated from U of I. She recently moved back to the area. She has dealt with the not-for-profits and humane societies in Mount Vernon, Indiana for the past 5 years and done all their veterinary at a discounted rate, which we will continue to do no matter what the decision here is. And so we are in the process of building a secure facility for bite dogs, and it should be within the next 6 months. It'll be up and running. Our kennels now will hold anything that you have had in the past. I know what you've had in the past, and our facility can't hold it the way it is now. But we're building a little bit more secure enclosure for our workers. I think in the past 20 years, we've had 2-3 dogs that we have had to tell people not to bring back and have them cut down. So most of the time, bite dogs are not a problem. With the weekends or any of the time that the officers would have a dog dropped off, we would just come pick it up. I mean, you call us, we catch it. I have taken over 84 cats off a piece of property here in Fairfield. All the cats were spayed and neutered. All were found homeless. Some were released back on the property. Fairfield colony. You never remove a whole colony from an area. That just causes problems. Because if you remove them, other cats will move in. So our plans are to work with not-for-profit facilities to accept any dogs that are not picked up because they're owned by an owner or something like that. Bite dogs you keep for 10 days. Other dogs you have to keep for 7 days. Any of the not-for-profit facilities that would receive a dog from us that we would pick up would have all its shots and would be neutered prior to leaving our facility. So, and I'm fine with whatever the board decides. That's I was contacted and asked, and if you have any more questions, you can feel free to talk to me personally. Yes.
Facility is have air conditioning in the summertime.
Yes. Yeah, it's air conditioned. It's spacious rooms, and it is also heated in the winter. A vet is on staff. We have almost 24 hours a day supervision at the facility. I have a night person that works from the night shift, so there might be an hour or two that we're not at the facility. But most nights, most days, we're at 24 hours a day. So, and part of that is because of hospitalization and certain things. But we do have someone on staff at all times, which I would be mainly the person that would come pick the dogs up. Because if we know we have especially if we have an aggressive dog, I don't allow the staff to handle the bite dogs. Me or my wife.
Other questions, Mr. Murphy?
Is there any time limit set on how long it's supposed to come pick up the dog?
I personally ask for like a 12-hour period. Most of the time it would be picked up within an hour. But it's kind of hard to do that if I'm in Evansville and get a phone call or Mount Vernon or Effingham picking something up, it's going to take a little longer. And Gary knows what size car I drive. So I would have to,
I don't think you get one of the big dogs in there.
well, but a larger dog, a bite dog, we would have a tranquilizer, and we do have the rabies holes. And so, yeah, if I ask for leniency simply because if I'm out of town somewhere, it will take me a few, maybe an hour or two to get back.
Really told the police department about
haven't had this discussion with the police
I,
department yet.
I talked to Keith earlier today. I mean, he said, you know, if we decided, you know, to just have the discussion tonight, not a vote, he'd like to sit down and talk further about how things exactly would work, either, you know, with both entities, just to make sure everything's on the clear.
I think before I would feel comfortable voting, I would like to see a contract from either or both parties. What we'd get and what it would cost.
All right, so can we approach this? We had put together a contract when we were initially talking to Mr. Murphy, so there's at least a structure there. We haven't had a discussion as far as contract other than the one-page sort of boilerplate that we got from the Human Society at the turn of the year, beginning of the year. So the best way to do this is to be able to see if we can have a contract discussion. Tyler's been a part of this up to this point, where people feel comfortable with him being also a part of this as we do this contract stage.
Happy to sit down and maybe get a resolution. I can work with any of them. Yeah.
How's that?
Even if it be a contract that the city puts together.
Right.
And then see if they could either one meet the contract.
Right, well,
And
I think we have something like that already, so.
And I think it needs to go beyond money. I mean, I think that, you know, they've made the recommendation that they threw a number out there, and that may not be the number that needs to be settled on. But, you know, I think some of the things that need to be answered is, you know, what is the city getting? I mean, you know, as far as time-wise, picking up the dogs, taking care of the bite dogs, after hours, weekend calls, you know, what are you gonna do for us? And as they said, you know, Keith and Richie both need to kinda understand what might be expected, you know, of his officers, you know. So I think that just needs to be put together and brought back to the council.
Are you comfortable with that, Tyler? Okay, all right, thank you very much. So is that, okay, can we say that that's our intent?
Yeah, I mean, it was listed as both discussion
Yes,
or
absolutely.
options, so.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it, appreciate everyone involved in that discussion. Number 6, agenda 6, cemetery mowing discussion. Alderman McGill, you wanna start that off?
Well, just like we approached this last meeting,
Could you get him the microphone? She's not leaning back.
we approached this last meeting, and last year wasn't great. And I have decided, and I've talked to the mayor and the council, that we hire 2 part-time help for the cemetery to keep it mowing for 30 hours a week. And see if we can get everything done up there.
All right, so you're proposing, that we go forward with 2, college students, whatever, that we can find, at minimum wage or slightly more, that would be able to work for 30 hours a week, mowing and trimming.
Right.
Is that,
We have a lawnmower back when we do that.
You do know that mowing starts mid-March and ends end of October, 1st November. You're only gonna get college kids from mid-May to mid-August. What are you gonna do the rest of the time? The other 4 months?
You got 2 guys out there that mow all the time, dude.
We went down this path before.
Last meeting at our discussion, we were gonna get bids. Did we get any bids? Did we get any bids after
we
last
have,
month's discussion?
we made 3 calls to 3 cemeteries that we were told we were going to have, that they outsourced. And we've only got 1 company that's supposed to come, they were gonna come in last Thursday, but they couldn't make it because of the weather. That's going to give us, I hate to use the word bid, Alderman, they were gonna give us cost analysis as to what it was gonna cost to be able to do it. I just did a little bit of math on this, and I actually, Diane did a little bit of math. I'm not kind of stupid at math, okay? I asked her to cipher, and she ciphered 2 part-time people at $12 an hour, 30 hours a week for 4 months is $11,520. Okay, that's 960 hours at $12 an hour. If we went the other route, and let's just say on average, let's just say it would be and I'm pulling this sort of an educated guess that it's around $3,000 per month. Okay, that's the educated guess for what it would be. If you do that mowing at 3 months, 3 times a month, correct, Diane? That's the number you used. That's $54,000. So there's a rather large disparity between the two costs. And well, of course, if we did that, if we did, and I'm open to whatever. I just don't want to have to go through another summer like what we went through. That if we did that, that would mean you see the union's thoughts on that. They're not real happy about that prospect, and they if we did that, we would be transferring some people out of the cemetery, some part of one and a half of the 2 people, because we have to leave a sexton in here, to the street and bridge department. So it really wouldn't eliminate jobs. It would just move some people. So I mean, that's the best way I can describe the this or that in this matter. Is that fair?
I would like to see the college kids or summer help clean the ditches out in the city and help with flooding issues more than cemetery.
Okay.
Are we required to pay the part-time students union wage? Are we required to pay the part-time student union wages or prevailing wages? They were just paid minimum wage.
The last time we did this was 2018, I believe.
You know, and I understand that it's the city's duty, you know, like you say, Mayor, to spend our money as wisely as we can, but, you know, and Alderman McGill opened his comments up with, we can't continue to go down the path we're going. I mean, we have to transfer employees, you know, from different departments, you know, to get ready for
We did that.
things going on out there.
An awful lot last summer.
You know, and you know, the cemetery needs to be. Look, I mean, we got people that walk out there. You know, we've got Memorial Day services, we've got Veterans Day services, and you know, somehow we need to make sure that it's taken care of. And again, I know Carol and his. You know, there's Carol and there's one other person, and we get into rainy day seasons or something like that. The grass grows and we're unable to mow, but somehow, I mean, what we're doing doesn't seem to be working to the best that we need it to be. And you know, I mean, it's, you know, I'm not opposed to hiring the college kids, but you know, I think we need to add some more numbers in front of us.
This wasn't. This was just a discussion.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So we didn't make. We're not going to make a decision tonight, but. Could you give me and Diane more direction, besides the fact that we've called Salem, Carmi, Mount Carmel, we've called other municipalities to find out how they're dealing with this, and the best we've been able to get is the Carmi folks are going to come up and give us an estimate.
I mean, it's just a discussion. I believe that would be fine, but, you know, as Alderman Eckelberry said, mowing season is fast approaching.
Yep, sure is.
You know,
So you want us to, I'm looking for a little direction. You want us to be able to get those numbers back for the next meeting to see whether or not we want to make a decision then?
That's, yeah, I mean, so the Carmine people are going to be coming and giving a bid. I mean,
Yes.
then I guess that's the final numbers, but we'll make sure the cemetery is taken care of one way or the other, whatever needs to be done.
Well, I mean, I guess the press and the radio could put the word out that if anyone wants to, they could approach the city with that information.
That's fine. I mean, it's 52 acres, and so it's it's a stout job, it's gonna take.
I wouldn't wanna do it.
I didn't think so. All right, so,
Another thing to think about is if we hire part-time help, whoever it is, are we going to need more equipment?
I don't think so. That's just me off the top of my head, I think we're in pretty good shape on equipment, if I'm not mistaken.
There's 3 more than they got building more out.
There's 3 or 4 mowers out there, and there's 6 or 7 weed eaters hanging on the wall.
So, I don't think so. All right, okay, so we're okay,
I just don't want family members to have to go out there and take care of their loved ones.
I don't either.
This year.
I'm really, that's a call I got way too often last summer, and I don't really look forward to getting it this summer, so I'm all for finding a resolution. We'll bring you more numbers, and hopefully we can make a decision at the next meeting, if that's okay with you, all of you. All right, I think we're at the mayor's reports. Wabash Communications will start marketing their internet services in Fairfield according to their management. The city and Wabash established a relationship last year, which led to a citywide survey to determine current internet needs and speeds. The construction will be off fiber optic main lines moving from west to east. Crews will be seen in town in the next few months. Now, to say that that means the entire town is getting taken care of by high speed is not the case. They have a number of fiber optic backbones that go through the town. At this moment, they're only building off those backbones. Okay, but they're moving from the west to the east, and they're gonna start marketing in Fairfield. I met with representatives of Commonwealth Engineers Incorporated and Ivan Dozier of the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I was previously from Mill Shoals, but has a job with the NRCS now in Springfield. I had that meeting on the advice of engineer Jerry Quindry, who's been helping me with the lake and drainage issues. The topic was watershed retention and flood prevention along Johnson Creek. Commonwealth is an Indiana-based engineering firm which specializes in dams and water control projects. NRCS might be the one funding source that might be able to help us in this matter. At the same moment we were speaking, I received, and it's remarkable, while we were meeting, I received an email from FEMA, Federal Emergency Management Administration. They were revising, for comment, Fairfield's risk map for flooding. It's a very different looking map than the one that's currently on file. It leads me to believe that the map could have been just put together, even though the dam was breached years ago. This is the first time they've done such assessments since the dam was breached. I think it's going to provide some serious consequences to the properties which border Johnson Creek and its tributaries, namely flood insurance issues, mortgages, and whether or not banks will be allowed, considering the fact that they're now in the formal floodplain. I think there's some serious consequences, and so I have to do more research on this. The street and bridge crews performed, I thought, admirably last week. I got calls about, in particular, Commerce Drive, and discovered that the state, which built the road, says they do not see it as their responsibility. That's the road that's between 15 and between Delaware and Maine that goes across to Walmart. It was in very bad shape, and it's because nobody did anything about it. The city thought the state was going to do it. The state thought the city was doing it. So the city's going to do it from now on. So that was something that was resolved. Right now we have 11 people who have taken out police applications and 5 for the fire department. It's our goal to get at least 15 police candidates for testing. That'll be on February 26th, a mandatory pre-meeting on February 25th. I talked to Ron Reagan of UGM, our gas consultant, reports to me that we have a stable gas market. There was a minor polar vortex last week that did not go south enough to cause any kind of problems with the price of natural gas. UGM continues to assess our current situation, and they will be recommending some future hedging strategies. McDonald's is slated to start construction on its new facility in Fairfield on May 5th. If you'll remember, they're going to build a whole new building over closer to the Delaware while they're still doing business out of the current building. I have in my hand a letter of resignation. Dear Mayor, please accept this as a formal notice of my resignation from my elected position as Alderman of First Ward in the city of Fairfield effective February 23rd, 2022. I've had to make the decision to resign my seat and relocate from Ward 1 due to circumstances beyond my control. I would like to thank the community for their support over the past 2.5 years. It's been an honor and privilege to serve as Alderman. Working with the city of Fairfield and the community has been a wonderful experience and has afforded me many valuable opportunities to learn and grow on both a professional and a personal level. I am grateful to have been part of this great community. I ask that my successor will do what is best for the citizens and the city of Fairfield. I wish you and the city of Fairfield continued growth and success in the future, and it's signed sincerely, Brett A. Cole. So, sorry to hear that. Good luck. Could you give him the mic for a second? And your plans?
So anyway, again, I just wanted to, it's been a very humbling experience being on the council. And I just want to thank the city of Fairfield personally and all the residents of Ward 1 for electing me. And I've learned a lot from this experience, as I've mentioned, both professionally and personally. And I just wish the city of Fairfield the best. And obviously, I have still a lot of connections here in town with family. So it's not that I'm going to be going away and never coming back to Fairfield to visit, socialize, and so forth. So, but anyway, I just want to say thank you very much to everyone in Fairfield and all the support you give me.
Thank you. I have one other matter, a part of the mayor's report. We got this too late for it to be in the agenda, so this is not an action item. I'm asking if this request and my granting it causes any heartburn. I am the liquor commissioner as the mayor of the city of Fairfield. This is from VFW Post 4535. Mr. McDuffie's request, writing, essentially he's asking if they can be open and able to have liquor sales till the conclusion of the Super Bowl activities on Sunday until 10 o'clock. I think it goes till 9 o'clock. 9. Personally, I have no heartburn in doing this, but I guess
I mean, we've done multiple things, New Year's Eve,
We
Super
have.
Bowl. And we
Halloween.
we said, special events, and that was why we truncated some things to allow special events the ability to just happen without having it as a year-round thing. Personally, I have no qualms with that at all.
And it just came in too late to actually put it on the
Okay,
agenda.
well then, I have a note prepared to send to them so that I just want to make sure that everybody was okay with that. I believe that concludes the mayor's report. Miscellaneous?
We've had multiple meetings with Wayne White. I know most people were kind of wondering how their bill was going to come. The weather kind of impacted a little bit. They do bill a little bit later. Your bill is due on the 15th with them. But so far we've had, very few issues, willing to take care of anything that comes up. Wayne White once again asked me if I would give a big thanks to our billing department up there. Yael, Loretta, Judy, been amazing with this system, getting it all set up. Hopefully if you had budget billing, everything went smoothly. If you had auto pay, it should happen. Once again, if you want to get on their Smart Hub, I did it as soon as I got my bill on Monday. I picked up my phone, I called out there, I gave them my social security number, I was off the phone, on the app, and paid my bill in less than 3 minutes. After you do that, you're on the Smart Hub forever, but you do have to call out there and give them your social security number because everything that we kept here on file was all encrypted and we weren't able to provide that information so they could get everybody set up. So if you would like to get where you have all the app features and stuff like that, and more features will be coming as we get on the automated system, but all you got to do is just give them your social security number and you're set up. I mean, it literally took 15 seconds on the phone with Denise and she had my system ready to go. And then all I had to do is download the app and I was done.
Couple of comments I'd like to add that I think our residents need to understand again that the rates that are charged are set here at this table. Wayne White Electric has nothing to do with the rates that you are charged. I think there was some negative stuff out there that, blamed it on Wayne White, but, Wayne White is just the billing agent for the city of Fairfield.
Yeah.
They control no rates now, and that's all controlled from here. So if you've got a question, they're more than happy to help you. Randy Olson out there is more than happy. He had a customer that had a high usage bill. He actually went to the house, found out that they had some electric heaters plugged in because of the cold weather, and that just jumped your rates and your usage up quite a bit. But please understand that Wayne White has nothing, zero to do with the rates that are charged. That is all set for here, and it will be for many, many years to come.
Yeah, I mean, this kickoff in an ideal month of March or April just, wasn't the possibility where it was a very smooth. Yes, we did it right in the middle of winter. Usage is high, so it, and people are seeing things broken out for the first time that maybe didn't look at each individual line item. But yeah, everything that's charged is what the city would have charged. We ran many test kits to make sure what they sent on your bill, unless there was maybe a misread or something like that, would have been exactly what the city would have charged. And once again, we can look into things if they think there is a mistake that could have been made. Things do happen, but what was charged was what the usage was based on the rates that the city council charges.
I don't know if are you done?
Yes, with that, yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt anyone. I just was gonna give an update on something I just recently come across concerning FOIA. That's, I wanted to share with everybody because it might, come into play, but basically, I found out text messages that are sent by a council member during a council meeting, those are subject to FOIA. I just wanted to let everybody know that since we're gonna be on Facebook, and if anybody sees you fiddling with your phone, then that's something that could trigger FOIA requests, and it's true even if it's on your personal cell phone, and it's also true if it's any text or email that's being sent to multiple members of a constituted forum. So I'm just cautioning you, we're on Facebook, and that's something that I thought it might be prudent to kind of bring up to you guys. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer, or take it later, I guess.
I've got a question.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
And we got the Clark project completed.
Yeah, he actually stopped by my office.
Okay.
Again, I've been in contact with him, and I gave him, he's got an attorney, and we're going through the documents, and he's trying to get that all squared away. I think he's leaving town for a while.
Okay.
So that's,
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else with questions? Yeah, go ahead, Jerry.
Our late fees to the city is close to Wayne White's the same as it's 15th.
With Wayne White, I mean, yes, it's 5 days later because they do have a billing cycle that starts later. You have until the 15th, and then the fee is the exact same rate that we would have charged on the 11th here. They charge on the 16th there.
There's a couple of people that asked.
Kind of to go along, Darren mentioned FOIA, I also wanted to tell everybody that may be out there that was newly elected or appointed last May, everybody else up here has had to do it. We are required to take open meetings down for almost a full year. It's now back up, so I will be contacting all of the newly elected and appointed positions that are required to take that. And if anybody else wants to take it to refresh themselves, they're welcome to do so. And I'll be getting in touch with you to let you know where to go, how to do the training and all of that. And also, I'm gonna steal Eugene's thunder. He always is the one to always say that I'm gonna jump in before you. We do wanna wish Flo the best of luck in her new position and thank her for, her dedication to the city of Fairfield the last several years. And she's also, in the last few months, has been helping do a little odds and ends things in my office, and she's been a big help. And we're gonna wish her luck in her new adventure, and we appreciate everything you've done.
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, we have a couple of local basketball teams playing for state titles this week.
That's, Jasper and,
Fairfield.
Center Street? Or-
Yeah, Center Street.
Okay, good. Well, I have to say, Fairfield has this, I always enjoy, looking at my wife and saying, my God, that fire truck went by 5 times, what's going on? And having her say, this is Fairfield, and someone just won a regional, or somebody just won a state tournament, or something like that. So I've come to learn, the ways. Anything else for yes, go ahead. Can you use that, please?
At the next meeting, can we have an update on all the accomplished properties that we had to turn in back in May?
Yes, we can. I've dealt with, we actually had one today that we wrote a ticket on, and so, yes, I'll get with Keith and we'll get the database up and see where we are.
Okay, thank you.
All right. If there's nothing else for the good, we have, an executive session on the prospect of imminent, litigation, if I'm not mistaken.
And section 2C, 21 minutes of closed session meetings, and the pending litigation is 2C 11. Do I have a motion to go into executive?
Make your motion.
Second that.
Motion by Reaver, seconded by Eckelberry. Roll call vote. Moore,
Yes.
Reaver,
Yes.
Stahl,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Eckelberry,
Yes.
Langley,
Yes.
Lizenby, McGill.
We will not be coming back in the session with any additional action. Thank you very much for joining us, and thank you to those people watching on Facebook.
You're off camera now. I'm waiting for it to show up on here. It's like 10-15 second delay. So I switched it. Oh, there's Clifford's belly walking by. There we go. Now we're on.
Absolutely.
There we go.